a lot of discussion has already taken place on Netaji's fascist leanings, whether he was a fascist or not, what was his relationship between Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, what was his relationship between Jawaharlal Nehru. I'm not going into a detailed discussion on those things. I'll just tell you something about what Netaji wrote at one point of time in reply to Gandhiji's telegram. He was in jail at that point of time. Gandhiji took disciplinary actions against both Netaji and Subhash Chandra Bose. Netaji's friends requested Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi to withdraw the order for that disciplinary action. His primary membership was also cancelled. This was done by Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. Gandhi, in reply, sent a highly derogatory telegram. In that telegram he said, well, I have great respect for both Subhash Chandra Bose and Subhash Chandra Bose, but I cannot withdraw my order unless and until they apologize. In reply to that, when Netaji came to know about this particular telegram, he was furious. He scolded his friends and wrote in reply, in my school days, I came across an interesting poem which narrated the heroic story of William Tell. William Tell was the leader of Switzerland. When he was caught by the Austrians, he was asked to bend down and apologize. William Tell told the Austrians, I shall bend down to God and God only. And Netaji said, this is my reply to you. I haven't committed anything wrong. My conscience is mine exclusively, and I am repeating whatever was written in that poem about William Tell. I can bend down only to God and God only, no one else. This was Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose. This is Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose. But, as I promised, the organizers of this fantastic program, I will speak also about something else. I was deeply annoyed by certain things, and I would like to express my feelings before you. 76 years ago, in 1943, formation of Azad Hind government, Arzi Hukumat-i Azad Hind, was announced by Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose in Singapore. What happened after that? In 1945, this man left Southeast Asia to embark on a new journey for the freedom of his motherland, India, that is Bharat. Now, British intelligence unleashed a massive manhunt. They could not find him. 3 commissions have been appointed to find out his whereabouts, to know something about his disappearance, but the mystery of his disappearance remains as unresolved as it was before. This is the state of affairs. The man is completely inscrutable. Under these circumstances, speculations on his going to Moscow and dying there and other weird, wild things are in the air. Some people say he died in the plane crash. Some members of the family subscribe to that view. Some members say that, well, we have archival documents which show that he went to Russia. But the archival documents, for your information, never tell us that he died in Russia. I was in Russia. I went to Moscow with Mukherjee Commission and examined witnesses who categorically told Mukherjee Commission that they did not know anything about Netaji's existence or death there. But the rumor mongers are still at large. They are dishing out wild speculations, wild stories. The latest is a book in which it has been stated, and there is an interesting twist in the Russian narrative. And what is that twist? He went to Russia, tortured and poisoned, became insane, and came back to India as an incoherent state. This is the theory propagated and circulated by some journalists. I am aghast at such efforts which do not have any evidence. As evidence, what they produced is absolutely laughable. I am just citing one example. In the book it is stated, Raymond Schnabel, a German journalist, told Emily Schenkel that Schnabel's friend, KGB friends, told him that Netaji was in Russia and he was in Siberian camp, poisoned. He was losing his mind. Who declared it? Who disclosed this earth-shaking information? Netaji's grandnephew, living in Germany, told some reporters that, well, I was told by Emily. So, one journalist told Emily told that grandnephew, and that grandnephew gives credence to such a story. This is a classic example of hearsay on hearsay, and they produced it as absolutely unassailable evidence in their book. I would just like to say that they must have done better homework. Another thing, what kind of mental disease this man was suffering? PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Who suggested it? An anonymous expert from Australia suggested that if these are the conditions, if these are the indications, if these are the signs, then in general it can be said that there is a possibility of a person suffering from PTSD. Can this general proposition, general diagnosis be applied to a specific case without taking into consideration Bhagwan Ji's specific ability to talk about things in aphoristic style? Well, I don't know. These people have written a know-all book, know-all type book. If you want to know anything about Netaji, read my book. That was their attitude. And all sorts of nonsense, nonsensical speculations are dished out in that particular book. The latest is a film which has created quite an emotional hype. I agree that youngsters are getting excited about Netaji living as Gumnaami Baba in Faizabad. Before going into an analysis of that, I'd just like to tell you something. Professor Kapil Kumar said many things about Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose and Azad Hind government. He talked about the stature of that man. To me, Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose, as Bhagwan Ji, Gumnaami Baba, is the only God I worship. Now, what does the film say? The film is supposed to have shown great respect to Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose. But if you go through that film, if you watch that film carefully, you will feel disturbed. You are bound to feel disturbed as I felt disturbed. I found that instead of Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose or Netaji as Gumnaami Baba, a journalist became the chief protagonist of the film, the hero of the film. What a fall there was, my countrymen, what a fall. Now this journalist, in a scene carefully constructed to project the heroic battle he waged against the public prosecutor Tarakeshwar Pal in Mukherjee Commission's hearing, said something absolutely shocking. And what was that? I'll have to switch on to Bengali to drive home the point. Justice Mukherjee was asking him in the film, Acha Chandrachud Babu, বিমান দুর্ঘটনা সম্পর্কে আপনার মতামত কি? Then, unabashedly, Chandrachud Babu said, মাইরি বলছি, বিমান দুর্ঘটনা ঘটেনি. Can this be a respect? Can this be an instance of showing great respect to Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose? I don't know. I don't really know. Then, there was incessant drinking and reading books. In the background, there was something which I call the love relations between him and his wife. Well, how did it become? How did it figure so importantly in the film? I don't know. I don't really know. Then there were shocking factual errors. Number one, Sunil Krishna Gupta was saying in the film, Dinesh Gupta was my brother. Well, Sunil Gupta, all of you know, was the uncle of Dinesh Gupta. In family relations, Dinesh Gupta was nephew of Sunil Krishna Gupta. This was one factual error. Again, the plane crash was vividly portrayed. Netaji was coming out of the plane like a fireball. Habib was desperately trying to douse the fire. Netaji was lying on a hospital bed and festering wounds were all over his body, burned injuries on his face. His face looked hideous. All these things were depicted vividly. What was the purpose of the filmmaker? To give credit to the plane crash? If he believes in the plane crash, then why did he talk about Gumnaami Baba? He was actually playing a balancing act. One can see through the game. Then, in the crematorium, the Japanese officers entered and asked Habibur Rahman, can we take photographs? Habibur Rahman said, no, you cannot take photographs. This is absolutely factually incorrect. Before Sanwaj Committee, I have written in my piece that on one occasion, Habib said, আমি আল্লাহর নামে শপথ করে বলতে পারি, I was not allowed to see the body without cover, without the line tagged. And before Sanwaj Committee, he said, I requested the Japanese officers to take photograph of the body without the face, excluding the face. This is recorded in Sanwaj Committee's proceedings. You can see it, but this is also distorted in the film. And lastly, Bhagwan Ji was dying smoking cigarettes. This is also shown in the film. There is no record of Bhagwan Ji dying in Gupta Ghat. In a film, well, I don't know whether it actually was going to hurt his ego, the ego of the filmmaker. It was shown much before him in a documentary that Dr. Mishra before camera said that the man who was cremated at Gupta Ghat was not the saint of Faizabad. That was stated clearly. No evidence, nothing was there. Bilal's handwriting report was not projected in a big way, just in a matter of fact way, it was stated by Chandrachud. And I must say something which I was actually afraid to speak about that before such an august gathering, but I'll have to say that to vent out my feelings. At the dead of night, just before Mukherjee Commission's report was to be submitted to the government of India, this group, the journalist and his friends, got tensed to console him, to give him some solace and something to live on, even if Mukherjee Commission's report went against him. He went against his assertions. His wife visited, his divorced wife visited his flat. And this man first asked her, would you like to have a drink? The wife said, yes, sure. What do you want to have? The usual rum with coke. Then the journalist said, again he was about to make an epoch-making disclosure. Do you know, rum here is produced and manufactured by Mohan Mikins. Do you know who Mohan is? Mohan was a disciple of Gumnaami Baba, and remembering Gumnaami Baba, he actually made a brand of rum, Old Monk. Can you beat it? This was shown in the film. I don't know how people are getting excited about this film, but I find these things absolutely nauseating. Then, at the dead of night, the man was tensed. Then, at the dead of night, the man wakes up, he couldn't sleep, and he was clad in, he was underwear clad, almost naked. This underwear clad journalist went to his fridge to take out a bottle of liquor. Suddenly he found, as if in the form of a hyper reality or virtual reality, Bhagwan Ji sitting in his drawing room. So this underwear clad journalist, hero of the film, had a very serious conversation with Bhagwan Ji or Netaji. This was shown in the film. How long will these people go? How low these people will stoop down? I don't know. At the end, I would just like to say, quoting Hamlet, something is seriously rotten in the state of Denmark.